Welcome to the show, guys. Joseph Robert Camo, the fantasy football counselor, online here with Tim, aka the Bald Man. You are back
again. 1 week hiatus.
You need like a theme music. How's this for your theme music?
No, what am I, Cinderella?
Yeah,
we could do that one. Yeah,
got a laugh track and everything. Tim, we are talking thrive and dive today here on the show. So there's been a lot of moves in free agency, a lot of trades, a lot of shaking and baking, a lot of new faces and new places. We did an episode on that. But the big question is, how will they do? Are they going to thrive or dive? Tim's going to have a list here. I'm going to go in, break down some of the top players, Russell Wilson, Davante Adams, even some other guys like Leonard Fournette, who's now back with Tampa Bay. So some really good new stuff here as well. Christian McCaffrey, how is he going to do? He didn't move anywhere, but how is he going to do? We're going to dive into it. Tim, are you excited to dive into thrive and dive?
Yeah, man, there's so many guys you can talk about right now. It's just crazy. So we're hitting on as many as we can think of right now, guys that are pretty high in your rankings. So we'll just kind of roll with this for now and do another show another day.
All right, before we get into this, guys, go to manscaped.com. Use promo code SHOWERLION20. Save yourself 20% on some amazing products, including this amazing Lawnmower 3.0, 4.0. That's what I've got. That's what I trim with. This is a 4.0. And I use their shampoo and body wash. Tim, you got to head over there yourself. I know you've got some products. Manscaped.com. SHOWERLION20. Save yourself 20%, Tim. I'm pumped.
So let me ask you, how does a lion shower?
Very, very carefully. I mean, that's a good question.
Is he like a cat or a dog? Do they lick their balls?
Do you even have to ask that? How many shower rants have I done? You've seen the lion shower many times, actually.
I know, but I do have to ask it because it's funny.
All right, manscaped.com, SHOWERLION20. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, thumbs up, and get that 16-round draft, which will help you guys crush your leagues for your draft. And I've also opened it up now, Tim. You can get in now. The group doesn't open up until September, but Fantasy 365, the in-season advice analysis from waiver wire, starts and sits, Q&As, everything's in there, Tim, to cover you for year-long and DFS. So 365 is now available to get in.
Yeah, man.
All right, so let's dive into this, Tim. So we've got a list of players to dive into, guys that are going to dive, or are they going to thrive? So let's dive in. So who do we have here? Who are we talking about?
So this first, it's kind of like a tandem here. It's a duo. So Davante Adams and David Carr. Let's discuss these two together.
All right. I mean, where do you start here? I mean, you got to go with a decline, obviously, based on leaving Aaron Rodgers. But then again, we kind of talked about this a little bit in the other show. You're like, I don't know if Derek Carr's a decline. I believe he is. I mean, they had the rapport back in college. Now they're in the NFL, new team. Now, the only problem here, and I did a breakdown of Davante Adams specifically. Check out the Impact series if you're on YouTube. I did a whole series of impact videos on specific players. Now, the biggest problem here, Tim, let's break it down. You're a math guy. You're better at math than I am. So let's talk targets. So, and I have this on top of my head because I just did this episode a couple of days ago. I'm not even pulling up stats. You see, I'm looking right at the camera. I'm not reading a prompter either. But I think it was 145 targets for Darren Waller in 2020. He played 11 games last year. Obviously had a dip, but in came in Hunter Renfrow with approximately 128 targets, becoming the wide receiver one. Now Adams comes in, who his ADP doesn't change. He's still going to be a top 4 wide receiver. So people are going to draft him predicated on last year's stats because that's what the Chiefs do. Now he thrived with 169 targets. Understand Waller in his pinnacle year with Derek Carr had 145 targets, great year. Renfrow in his pinnacle year, 128 targets, and they're still there. So how is this gonna? What do you think here? Because I don't see the volume being there. I'm personally staying away. I see a definite dive here. Do you agree based on the numbers?
Absolutely. Everything makes sense. Everything that you're saying. So Hunter Renfrow is going to take a little more of a back seat this year with Adams being there for sure. However, Carr loves his tight ends. He always has. So Waller's going to kind of stay where he is, maybe decline a slight bit, not very much. And then you still got Josh Jacobs on the other side too. So Adams is going to get fed. He's going to see a good amount of yardage, I'm sure. I just don't know if the touchdowns, in fact, I'm sure the touchdowns aren't going to be where they need to be to keep him up at that really high number. So he's still a great pickup, I think. I don't think the decline is going to be massive, but for sure a decline, and especially to me in the touchdowns.
Well, the volume is definitely going to be concerned. Some people will say, well, Joe, obviously, decline is, that's something say, well, it's Captain Obvious, but not really. Because again, the mainstream, everyone's going to tell you draft him in the first round. And just to put this in perspective, receptions, let's go to targets last year. Okay. Just to running backs. Josh Jacobs saw 64 targets. Drake saw 40. Peyton Barber, 13. Ingold, 12. Jalen Richard. So 64, 40, 13,
About
12.
120, 130.
Yeah. There you go. So there's 120 targets going that way as well. So there's a lot of mouths to feed. And again, with Adams, he thrived predicated on the fact that he was getting fed a lot of targets from Aaron Rodgers. So again, what I'm kind of comparing this to is Waller in 2020 with that 145 targets, Tim. And again, I know he's a tight end, and he's still there though. So I don't know, man. I don't see the volume being there. I just don't.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't think Waller's going to drop off too much because, as I said, Carr loves his tight ends. He has for the last 4 or 5 years, even. So, if anything, the other receivers are going to take a little bit of a loss, especially a guy like Renfro. He's going to drop drastically. Adams is going to get thrown to, man. There's no doubt about it. I just don't think he's going to get thrown to quite as much, and the lack of touchdowns. So if you're still drafting him just as high as you did last year, you're kind of an idiot. He doesn't deserve to be that high. Can he possibly get to those numbers? Yes, very slight chance. I think for the most part, he's going to lose points. He's going to lose, I don't want to say drastic, but 30 to 50 points down from last year, I'm betting.
Okay, so we know Adams, we got him as a dive. I'm not drafting him. And I got to tell you, 9 touchdowns to boot in that year with Waller as the top tight end there with Carr. We had 145 targets, around 107-ish receptions, I think it was. And what was it? 9 touchdowns to boot. But okay, so we kind of know that. Derek Carr, while we're staying on top of this, Derek Carr is not a quarterback I get excited about for fantasy football. Just not a guy. I like more of the higher calibers. I aim for like the Josh Allens, Mahomes, and I typically get those guys for values, right? Like I get them for value, and the year they really accelerate, I go back and I look for the best value for that year. And I think Russell Wilson is going to be, for example, a steal this year, but we're not going to talk sleepers or who to draft at quarterback. We're just talking specifically here, Derek Carr. In 2020, he finished 13th amongst quarterbacks. Tim, to put this in perspective, when you look at him from an attempt standpoint that year, Derek Carr was 14th in attempts with 517. That's 2020. But we're not concerned about 2020. We want to talk about 2021. And when you look at it from a fantasy perspective, Derek Carr finished again 14th in fantasy points. So he's not a guy that finished top 10, but he does get a boost with Davante Adams. I'm personally, again, not excited about Derek Carr, but definitely I see a boost there. So I'm going to say a little bit of a thrive there.
Carr can throw for good yardage. He really can. He can hit that 5,000 mark if he really wants to. Last year was 4,800, but he typically averages around the 4,000. The problem here is that team does not have monster games. Like I think he only threw for 2 touchdowns max in any one game last year. That was it. Never had a 3 touchdown game that he threw for. So that's kind of where it's coming from. He doesn't put the touchdowns in through the air. He can air it out. He can get great yardage, but it's just not there in the touchdowns, man. And that's going to be the big factor for me.
Yeah, I mean, his touchdown interception ratio sucks as well. What is it, 23-14 or something like that last year?
It's not great by any means. But you just mentioned it, 23 touchdowns for a whole year. Like that's pretty bad, man. That averages 1.5 per game.
We should have named this show Dive, Thrive, or just Staying Alive, because I just see him staying alive. I don't see
no big change. Yes.
Yeah. So I give him a slight bump here for sure.
Yeah, a little bit because he's got such a marquee receiver with him now.
All right, let's move on.
So the next one up I would want to talk about, and you already mentioned him once here, is Russell Wilson.
Hustle Russell. Now, again, we talked about this a little bit off the air here, and again, you don't sound too excited about Russell, but if you look at Russell throughout the years, and that's what I look at. I look at the years where he actually thrived in fantasy, and I'm looking at, let me pull this up here. I'm going to pull up 2019 numbers here. 2019, he finished 3rd amongst quarterbacks, okay? 31 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He doesn't throw for a whole ton of yardage, 4,110 yards. But again, he did it on the ground with 342 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. Had himself a good campaign back in 2019. I'm just using 2019 kind of as like a guideline for based on a good year. Now, 2020 finished 6th amongst quarterbacks, had himself a good campaign as well. 2021, not the greatest with Russell Wilson. Okay, so he had that bad year. He had but he played 14 games. That's the problem. Missed a few games. And here's the good thing here, Tim. The fact is, because he finished 14th, people will sleep on him. Okay, so I'm going to pull up where he is on the consensus, and he's 11th, which means he's going to be that value quarterback. And again, he's proven to us, I just gave you 2 years. He's done it before where he's finished in the top 5, where, he finished in the top 10. And again, he's going to be outside the top 10 on the rankings because he finished outside the top 10. Now he's moved, new situation. And in most cases, that could hurt quarterbacks, right? Or could help them. It could be like a boom or bust. I think he takes a step up because I think he was kind of out in his comfort zone. He's like, I'm kind of getting bored of Seattle. Like, I want to move. This is going to revive his career. It's going to regenerate him. And I like Courtland Sutton. I think Courtland Sutton and Judy are an upgrade from Lockett and Metcalf. And again, that could be like, you could say, nah, they're kind of parallel in regards to receivers. Maybe, yes. But I think he gets rejuvenated. He's got a better running back in Javonte. I think a better team, better coaching. I don't know. Pete Carroll's really good. I can't even say that. But I'm excited. I think he thrives. What do you think, Tim?
I think he kind of maintains. I think you're throwing him onto a new team, new offense, young receivers. If anything, he's going to make up for it with his legs. However, last year was a down year for that as well. So I'm cautious. I actually think at an ADP of 11 for quarterbacks is kind of right where I want him. I'm saying low end QB1, high 2. I don't see him having that monster year that you're predicting.
I think he's going to have a solid year. I think, like I said, I think that reviving, that regeneration of I think I read this quote. Again, quote me if I'm wrong, I should say. I don't know how the verbatim quote was, but I read somewhere, and again, I'm subscribed and I'm following so many news pages and stuff, and the NFL and all these team pages. Somewhere along the line, he said, or I read a quote where he said something along the line of you think I'm done, but I'm kind of just getting started. So I think he's got a bit of a chip. He's ready to prove something this year. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think with the young receivers, I don't see it being a monster. There's always potential, no matter what he is. No matter what, he's a huge upgrade at quarterback. So we'll just have to wait and see how it looks to pan out.
I don't even know why you say young receivers. Look at Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I don't even believe in that anymore. It doesn't matter if you're young. You're a good receiver. You'll do fine either way.
Yeah, you can. The potential is there. It's just still you've got to acclimate to the new guys, and maybe he can do it. Maybe he can pull them all together. Maybe he can lead this team like he should, and we'll see what happens. I'm saying I believe the ADP around 11 is right where I would want him. That's where
I love the value
right now.
I love the value because, again, I think a lot of people will spend an early pick. And I always say, don't spend an early pick on a quarterback coming off a pinnacle year. Josh Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, they're going to be expensive. Or I was telling everybody in 16 rounds, get Herbert round 5, 6 last year. He's coming off the board. He was the value. Now you're going to get more value in your Russell Wilson. Aaron Rodgers is now, we're not even talking quarterbacks here, but I want to tell you, Aaron Rodgers is sitting around 12th. He'll be a value, but again, he's got no wide receivers at the time of this recording. So I could definitely see a decline there without Adams. So that's a whole other topic. So thrive for me, and Tim saying just blah.
Yeah. What did we say? Alive. Just staying alive.
Okay.
Which doesn't mean, he's dying. I think he just kind of stays right where he was last year.
Okay. All right. What else do we got here?
Let's hit another quarterback right now. Let's go Matt Ryan. I mean, you love this guy. I've always liked him. He's always been that quiet, steady guy that you could rely on. However, with Atlanta, I mean, he just pissed me off over and over and over again.
Yeah, that was a tough year. And, obviously losing Julio Jones throughout the years, now Calvin Ridley last year, that was a disaster. Coming in with a rookie with Kyle Pitts, he didn't really start getting in the groove with him. He had Patterson as an outlet. But Matt Ryan had a bad year. Now, if you look at him, he finished 19th amongst quarterbacks, 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. It was just a mediocre. This is not a typical Matt Ryan year. Now, you could say and make the debate that he is declining. But similarly to the thing is, the problem was he was getting attacked a lot. He was getting sacked a lot. He was under a lot of pressure, right? And one of the main things with Matt Ryan, because he's not very mobile, is he needs to throw the ball. Now he's got the time to throw the ball with the Colts. His career is going to be revived. I think this is his last hurrah, and he is going to be a steal in drafts, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Ryan is sitting 22nd on the consensus, simply predicated on the fact that the consensus, the mainstream, have wrote him off based on last year. But the funny thing is, Tim, going back a couple years ago, he had a bit of a down year, finished 12th. Everyone slept on him. I drafted him early. He was my QB1. I think Drew Brees was my QB2. This was like 3-4 years ago. I can't remember the exact year. And Matt Ryan was super efficient for me. So you could theoretically have this guy as your wide receiver 1, but you wouldn't draft him as that. You can get him as a backup with quarterback. QB1. I'm just thinking too much. You get Matt Ryan as your QB1 theoretically, but you want him as your, quarterback to based on value, because I always back up my quarterback, Tim. I'm excited. Being a bit of a Colts fan here. As you can see, I was a big Andrew Luck fan. They've had their share of quarterbacks over the years, but Brissett, Rivers passing through, all these other quarterbacks coming through. Finally, Matt Ryan would give them at least a good 2-3 years max, but after that, he's done.
My problem here is there is no marquee receiver. If they could add someone to the team that, a big name, sure catch guy, long bomber, I'd be thrilled, but he's moving to a team without any good receivers. He's got Jonathan Taylor there, one of the best running backs in the league. I don't see it. I mean, he's pissed me off for the last 3-4 years, and I think he's going to kind of continue. At 22nd pick, yeah, I mean, I think that's great value. You're going to get this guy basically at the very, for sure. You're going to get this guy at the very end of your draft, maybe not even have to draft him. You can pick him up on waivers.
I don't know. I think he'll get picked up. I don't know. I would think so.
22 amongst quarterbacks, though, like that's super, super late in your draft. That's like a last minute thought. Oh, I'll take Matt Ryan.
And most teams have, 12 teams, and most people don't draft a backup quarterback. So yeah, he's going to be an awesome late round guy as a backup with QB1 upside. So I'm excited. And again, you're going to get those young guys coming off the board. Your Herbert, your Kylers, your Lamars, your Joe Burrows. They're going to come off. Deshaun Watson may come off early as well. You're going to get those guys coming off, and then the guys like the Matt Ryans are going to be falling. Great value, I think, later on. I'm excited about Matt Ryan as a backup with QB1 upside.
Yeah, I like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes top 10. I've said it.
I would be surprised, but I still think he's a great value where he's at, and I wouldn't hesitate to pick him up as a backup quarterback and maybe plug and play him, depending on the matchups.
I'm going on my I'm an oldie guy here. So these are my guys that I kind of grew up in fantasy really adoring is the Russell Wilsons and Ryan. So new places, I'm excited to see them there. So maybe I'm a little biased to that degree, but I do think they thrive.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about the Colts here, let's just move on to Jonathan Taylor then. What do you see happening this year? Last year was amazing for him.
By the way, about the Colts real quick before I get into Taylor, I think they do bring on a receiver. I mean, that's one of the needs they need to address. I don't know if Pittman is the solution. So I definitely do think that they're going to bring somebody in, whether they draft a top receiver or bring one in. So I do think that they're going to bring one in. In regards to Taylor, you know me, man. I love Taylor. I loved him in his rookie year. Like when he came in, I was really high on him. He didn't get going because he was in that committee with Naheem Hines and everybody else there in a committee. And they finally realized, hey, man, this guy is good. They gave him the volume that he demands and he needs, right? He was a workhorse in college. He's still got about 2-3 years left in him on a high level. But like anything, what goes up must come down, right? So I'm going to come out here and say this. He's going to have a bit of a dive. How much of a dive? Still unclear. Not enough to really turn me off of drafting him in the first round, although I do prefer – I still think there's more of an incline left for Henry bouncing back off that injury because he's had his bit of a dive now. I think he bounces back. I think Najee Harris still, I think there's more ceiling to be had there. Quarterback suspect. I think Taylor takes a bit of a dive, maybe even a huge dive because the volume, 332 attempts last year, maybe he gets hurt and maybe that's the dive, but something's scaring me coming off such an amazing year. 18 touchdowns, Tim, 332 attempts, 1,811 yards. This is amazing. It's almost too clean. It's like Cooper Kupp. These guys are not going to sustain this next year. And how much enough that, again, I might be kind of turned off to go Henry or Najee or someone else, maybe because I'm, law of averages.
Yeah, I don't know. Henry's been banged up and hasn't been that great either for a while now. So I'm definitely with you. I think there's going to be a slight decline. I mean, it's hard to match those same numbers. And we've seen that the running backs, when they are used that much, they just get beat up and they get pounded on and then they pay for it 2 years down the line. So Taylor's still definitely young. He's got the ability. If anything, maybe not run him so much, throw to him a little more. He's shown pretty good hands. He only had 40 receptions for 360 yards with 2 TDs. So you could take off a couple of rushing touchdowns, maybe give him a couple more short passes in the red zone. That might make up for it. So yeah, maybe a slight decline. I don't think it's going to be massive.
Yeah, since we're on running backs here, so I'm going to say dive for Taylor. Since we're on running backs here, I'm just looking at the Kinshipsis rankings here. And here's something so weird. I know Christian McCaffrey's on your list because we talked before, so we could dive into Christian McCaffrey right now if you want. Since we're talking running backs, I'm looking at this. This is really funny because Christian McCaffrey and Saquon have pretty much had the same story. Ultra talented. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey's done better when he did do better. Like, he did better. He's played 10 games in the past 2 years. McCaffrey did. So he's, injuries, plagued him. And then you've got a guy with like Saquon who's equally as talented. The guy is very talented. I mean, he had one good year in 2018. I get it. Christian McCaffrey's literally done more, But similar situations, two great running backs physically, plagued with injuries, right? And the difference in ADP is crazy. McCaffrey sitting second on the consensus and Barkley sitting 14th. So you're asking, Christian McCaffrey, I mean, there's no way but up from last year, but will he thrive to a couple of years ago? I really doubt it, man. Again, isn't that weird? The difference of how the sheep think here? It's crazy. They're the same person.
Yeah, it's just that name, man. Everybody loves that name, CMC. And let's face it, he was, well, I guess you could say the same for Saquon. They were both the only real offensive weapons on their teams. So you could kind of say they're almost identical to each other. Christian being a little more proven, but man, second, are you crazy? After what's happened the last 2 years?
Yeah.
That's just nuts to me. There needs to be a drop in his value.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to pull it up here, but I think I have this stat because I remembered it when I looked it up. I was just studying, you know me, I study stats. All I do is talk fantasy. But I'm looking at it. 10 games played, started in 2 seasons. Yep. You realize it was like an 18 game season last year, and then like 16
17.
or 17. Yeah, the week. Anyway, it's a lot of games he's missed.
Yeah. Period. It's crazy. I mean, when he did play last year, the touchdowns were still there. Everything's looking good, but he hasn't stayed healthy for the last 2 years. Why would you still be picking this guy second overall?
And it's weird because everything that Chiefs does is copy and paste, but I guess it's like this is their guy. It's their golden boy. They're saving face. They're bringing him back. He's a volume getter. There's some guys I find, even though a lot of it's copy and paste, they're kind of biased. I've noticed to certain guys like Austin Eckler, good year. Again, he's number 3. I like Najee a little ahead of him. Again, maybe you could say I'm biased for Najee, but again, Austin Eckler at 3 right now. I'm looking at PPR. And then again, Dalvin Cook at 5, another guy that is a good player, but he's had his hurrah. He's always gets hurt 2 or 3 games, sometimes in your fantasy championships a couple years ago. It's just a matter of which games Dalvin Cook's getting hurt, but 100% guaranteed Cook is missing games. Right. It's just a matter of which ones. He's sitting at 5. I don't even like talking about the consensus. The only reason I do is because these are the numbers that are pasted in everybody's draft. And wherever you're doing your draft, when your league buddies are picking their pick, it'll be organized in this fashion on all these major platforms.
Yeah. I mean, a guy like CMC is a phenomenal talent. There's no denying that. I mean, people like to hate on Tom Brady, but face it, Tom Brady is a phenomenal player. And that's why I want that pretty boy to lose, Same thing with CMC. He's amazing, amazing talent. However, his snap count was like ridiculous when he was healthy, right? It was in the high 90% or something like that. So he was on the field all the time. Body taking a serious beating. It's catching up to him. To still put him at second after 10 games in the last 2 years, man, people, you got to wake up. I mean, I love the guy, but nope, way too high.
Yeah, so you can't really say he's taking a dive because the past 2 years he's taken a dive. Now, based on the ADP, yes, I would say, is he going to thrive? Maybe. I don't see it. I personally don't see it. I'm staying away. He's not on my radar when I'm looking at the first round. So again, I can't say he's going to thrive, and I can't say he's going to dive because
if he stays healthy, he thrives. There's no doubt about it. Problem is he hasn't been able to stay healthy. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Who else do we got here?
This one's not like I don't know why people have been talking about him a fair bit. I'm not thrilled with him, the mover. I don't think there's anything exciting coming up here. Robert Woods. Like he's never been a high-end receiver. Why is he receiving so much recognition this year? Why are people talking about him so much? Yeah, he made a move to another team. So what?
Well, Titans are playoff contenders. They're a good team, especially with Henry, but understand they are a throw first team.
Yeah, a run first, you mean?
Oh, yeah, run first team. I'm multitasking. That's I got 2 things wrong already, right? I'm not even going to edit. I'm going to keep it in here so you guys can know that we're human. All right, so again, when we're looking at this, they are a run first team with Derrick Henry. And the thing that I look at here, the number one thing that I look at, I'm trying to find the words here, is volume. Again, volume might not be there. I look at Ryan Tannehill, and he's not a guy that throws a whole lot. Okay, so Ryan Tannehill last year, just pulling up attempts here, Ryan Tannehill was 12th in attempts, and I believe the year before, and this is what I kept telling everybody last year, I was screaming it from the rooftops. Ryan Tannehill last year was 17th in it, or 18th in attempts with 481 in 2020. So he went up. He's starting to throw a little bit more, right? But still not enough. And everybody had A.J. Brown in the top 10. And I said, well, A.J. Brown is not going to get the volume. Sure enough, he didn't. He busted. He finished like 32nd amongst wide receivers. So again, similar situation where I don't think Woods is going to be an exciting guy. I don't think he's going to thrive. I think he's going to survive. I think he's going to be safe. And that's it. You know, that, again, maybe he'll dive based on ADP. I don't even know where is he sitting on ADP. I got to find that out. But he's a safe guy at best, Tim. There's no thriving going on here.
Yeah. And let's just say his 3 best years have been between 230 and 265 points PPR. Those are his best years. Why do people all of a sudden think this move is going to propel him to something else? No, that's where he belongs. He's in that mid 200 range on a good year.
Okay, so here we go. So again, this is the bias, right? First and foremost, they had Woods ahead Cup last year. And I said, no, don't draft Woods. I think Cup's the guy. My 16 rounds had Cup recommended at his ADP, but he was a good value, 3rd or 4th round. Okay, so everyone got Cup that got 16 rounds, faded Woods. Woods busted, got hurt, whatever. This year, the audacity of the Sheeps is putting A.J. Brown in the top 10 amongst wide receivers yet again, a 7th. And they've got Woods here at like what 41st or something. Wow. Robert Woods. I mean, I'm taking Woods for free later,
and they're going to be identical.
Yeah,
like at the end of the year, they're going to be close to each other. I bet.
I think so. Maybe Woods could even surpass AJ Brown, or they're going to be right neck to neck. And again, I don't see the volume being there, but that's crazy. Give me Woods all day over AJ Brown.
Yeah, especially for the price, man.
41 on the Chiefs. And watch, Woods ends up like Brown gets hurt. Woods becomes the number 1 target, has a couple big games, finishes top 10, top 15. And then next year, everyone's going to be saying Woods is the one on that team. It's just so crazy how biased and on the train or copy and paste everything is. It's so
yeah,
it's crazy, man. But again, you got to do something. You got to lay these out one way or another. And that's where I kind of, with the Chiefs to some degree, you got to lay them out some way, but the way they lay them out, but there's no real thought process. Like Deebo Samuel, another example here. I'm going off on a tangent. Sitting 6 on the consensus. This is a guy I had on our show, Tim. He was on our show in August, and I said, you are the wide receiver 1 there. And, everyone had Ayuk ahead of him last year. I'm like, no, I'm not drafting Ayuk. Where's Ayuk now, Tim? Why is Deebo 6 predicated? Check this out, Tim. Back me up here, okay? This is a guy that Mitchell got hurt. Running backs were a little banged up last year for San Fran. Deebo had, I think, 8 or 9 rushing touchdowns. He's a wide receiver. He's not getting 8 or 9 rushing touchdowns this year. It inflated his value, put him in the top 10. Now he's pasted over to a top 6 wide receiver.
Wow.
Based on that. So they're not considering saying, well, maybe hold on a second. Maybe there was an inflation last year at rushing touchdowns for a wide receiver. So he's not going to get 8 rushing touchdowns. It's just not going to happen. He was an anomaly last year, but they've paced him over top 6 right now.
And I can't honestly say, I'm trying to think back. I don't think it was all trick plays or anything like that either. I think some of it was just, he's running behind, he grabs it, he goes, and that's
special designs and stuff.
Yeah. But not necessarily a trick play. So yeah, he got utilized in that way. Is he going to get utilized the same amount this year? I highly doubt it. Yeah, it's possible, but to put up 8 touchdowns, no, that can very easily drop. And then his yardage is great. I mean, it's phenomenal, especially for the number of receptions he had. It's like 20 yards per reception. So it's pretty spectacular there. If that increases the touchdown, he might balance out. So he could be a pretty good pickup still. I don't know. Six might be a little high, but
I'm looking at here, 1,553 yards. Or sorry, I'm looking at the wrong 1,405. Sorry, I'm looking at
on 77 receptions. So it's a little less than 20 per.
And then 6 touchdowns receiving, and then he's got those 8 rushing touchdowns, 365 yards rushing. And it's so funny. Again, we're going off on a tangent here, but it's fun. I like talking and analyzing and deep diving. That's what gives people the edge here. When you look at it from a touchdown perspective, Tim, that would put him top 10 amongst running backs in rushing touchdowns with Nick Chubb, Leonard Fournette, Melvin Gordon, and James Robinson.
That's crazy, eh?
More than Najee. You'd have more rushing touchdowns than Najee last year. Najee had 7. And again, that's why I told you Najee has not hit his ceiling. I'm excited about Najee next year.
Yeah, to me, last year you were too high on Najee. This year, in the second year, yeah, I think it's justified.
I was too high. He finished he finished top 3 amongst running backs.
Yeah, he had that slow start though. He did have a very slow start, and you were still pushing hard on him, play him. I'm not looking at it, but I think it took him till like week 5, maybe even a little later to put up some good numbers.
Finished top 3 amongst running backs, and from a game-to-game basis, I'll pull it up real quick. yeah, week 1 was slow like molasses with 5.9 points, but then he had some safe games. Check this out: 19.1, 28.2, 21.1, 22.2. You have no idea what you're talking. You're talking about the one game that's
Listen,
stuck in your head, and you think he sucked the
low
entire beginning
low
of the season.
20s is still not amazing.
Well,
to me.
that's solid. That is safe.
It's solid. Yes, absolutely. I agree with that. But that is, he didn't have a monster. He didn't have a Kamara 40-pointer. You know what I mean? Like he was very good, but there's still a lot of room for improvement, is what I'm saying.
There is.
I mean,
yeah,
1,200 yards. He killed it yardage wise.
That's why I'm excited about him this year. I mean, they just
Yeah.
got to improve that O-line too.
And this year it's justified, I think. Although the rest of the team sucks. I mean, and now you got Mitch. It's like, oh my God.
All right, we're off on a tangent. Who else? So Thrive, I think he thrives if we're talking Najee. So since we're
well, we weren't talking Najee, we were
Now we
talking Robert Woods, but yes, Najee is still right up there.
We went from Robert Woods on the Titans, wide receiver, to Najee Harris.
With Samuel in the middle there.
Okay, all right, let's go. What else do we got?
Okay, so next up, I would want to talk about big move, Tyreek Hill.
Ooh, man, this is, again, I'm not going to even analyze this too much. I did a whole video on this. This is right to dive. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong, but Tua is not attractive right now. They got Gesicki. They got Waddle there. Jalen Waddle is going to be a factor. Man, it's such a suspect team. And here's the thing. Let's talk about this. Is very important, Tim. We're deep diving here. This is very, very important. When I look at wide receivers, actually, he's dropped. This is very okay. I was wondering where the Chiefs had him. So he's 8th. So I think he's more like 3rd or 4th. So they have dropped him, but he's still top 10 for a guy who was extremely volatile game by game with Pat Mahomes. So now he's on a new team. Oh my God, I don't know, Tim. I'm going to say dive here. I don't trust this at all. He's still sitting top 10.
Yeah, I agree with you. To me, my first note was this is all going to come down to Tua's abilities, not really Hill's. Like you say, they got Jalen Waddle there. It has to be a dive. It has
Jalen Waddle. Did you say James?
I just said Waddle. They still have Waddle. I don't think I said his first name.
I thought you did. No, I'm hearing. I'm making mistakes. I'm hearing things now.
Yeah, man, you're totally losing it.
I'm so excited about fantasy. I have stats everywhere, numbers. My mind is processing. Tim, this is what happens. I get into this obsessive stat mode, and I'm analyzing. So I want that 16 rounds to be perfect.
The funny thing here with Miami in general is they don't really have an identity as a team. Like, they're not identified as a throwing team or a running team. I mean, I hate to even say they have a balanced attack. They're just like mediocrity in general. That's it. Yeah. That's all they are. So why is Hill going there with a suspect quarterback going to be, and all of a sudden,
why is he going there? It's Miami. It's hot. It's nice. He had a choice between the Jets and Miami. I'm going to Miami. I'm not going to New York. I'm going to Miami.
All right, let's move on to another ass quarterback. I don't even know why we're talking about him, just because we have to. But Carson Wentz.
Oh my goodness, that's a good question. But here's the thing: it doesn't matter. Just stay the hell away. I mean, he could actually. I think he could do okay. Like, I think he'll be a safe quarterback. If you're in a 2-quarterback league and you've got 2 quarterbacks, he could be your 3rd quarterback as a backup on the bench. But again, he could be safe. I don't want to knock him completely, but he's on the Washington. Did you hear their new name now? It's the Commanders now. It's not even a football team. So I'm not excited. Again, maybe there's a shot in hell because I got 2 of his rookie cards. I bought him when he got traded to the Colts. I'm just like, maybe, I pay like $300 a piece. I'm hoping he does well so I can just get rid of those cards. Other than that, I don't care.
He hasn't shown us anything good, man. He's a mid 300,000 or 3,000 yard guy.
Here first, Carson Wentz 300,000 yards.
It's going to be an amazing year. Wow. Mid 20s for TDs. Like, he's never done anything exceptional. So to me, he's just a flatliner. He's almost a Mitch Trubisky. I mean, you could put those guys on the same level. You've doomed your team.
It's like the same person, like ability, lackluster, boring, mediocre.
That's just it, man. You've doomed your team by having these guys as your starting quarterbacks. You're going to do nothing this year.
Just plain old. I don't even know what to say. I'm just trying to keep it nice.
Yeah, that's a change.
And watch, they come out and then like Mitch and these guys tear it up and become top 3 quarterback.
No, don't say it.
You got to come back to this clip and just apologize to them. happens.
Okay, so here's another big move on a player that was amazing in his rookie year and then just totally fell off. Juju.
Oh yeah, man. Here's the thing. I wasn't excited, but there's a but. When Tyreek Hill left, I was like, okay, we may have something here. I'm not a Juju fan, but when he was with Big Ben, he showed flashes that he was pretty good back into that 166 target year with Antonio Brown. I can't remember what year it is. Man, the years fly by, but I know he had a big year. I think it was, let me go back.
It'd be like 19 or 18.
2018, I think it was, or was it even 19 or 18? I'm going back here, guys. Stick with me. Man,
either way, he had that one great year. There's no denying it.
I think it was 17, dude. Is it that?
Are you no way? Seriously?
I'm going back.
Okay, so anyways, he had that amazing year. Wasn't it the next year that Brown was off the team? I forget what happened. Either he was traded, injured, let go, whatever. And we thought, oh, Juju should be able to step up. You know, did you see some of those catches he made?
He never did.
Yeah, it just never worked out. But same scenario here then. He's got an amazing receiver in the tight end, Kelsey. So is Kelsey still going to take a lot of that looks away? Is he going to give Juju some extra room? Can Juju make those big plays again? I think he can. He might not fill Tyreek Hill's shoes, but he's going to be pretty close. I think he's got the ability still. I think this is going to be a good year for him. I definitely think he's up.
It was 2018, actually. Just we covered this. It was 166 targets, 111 receptions, and he had 7 touchdowns. That was his big year. He had that big catch and run. I remember this year, clear as day. I mean, this year. So if we go back to last year, the main thing I want to look at when I'm analyzing Juju is the Kansas City Chiefs and who caught the ball. So Tyreek Hill had 159 targets. Guess what? Surprise. 159 targets are now freed up. So Mecole Hardman's there, who had 83 targets. Pringle, I think, and Robinson are gone, right? Whatever. It's going to be Mecole Hardman and Juju, unless they bring in another receiver, and, of course, Kelsey. But the key thing you want to focus here on is 159 targets freed up. As much as I hate Juju, there's an opportunity to thrive here. Will he thrive? Yet to be seen. I got to see what happens after the NFL draft. Who else they bring in? Do they draft another stud young wide receiver? What do they do? But 159 targets is quite a bit of volume freed up to him.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, with Tyreek gone, you've got to look at Juju as a much bigger mouth there now. So I think it's Kelsey, Juju. And you know, I could be proven wrong, but until the season starts, I'm saying that for sure.
And Juju's going to be a sleeper, sitting 34th on the consensus rankings right now on the Concheapsis.
Now that'll be changed. Believe me, that'll be changed come closer to the season. But still, you probably will still get him at a decent value.
Yeah. And again, but you're going to get some volatility because we know Mahomes spreading the ball around, boom games here and there. And he's going to have some boom games for sure, especially with Tyreek gone.
Okay, so you know what? We've got like 4 or 5 guys here all on the same team right now. So Juju, let's jump to Mecole. So sort of the same thing. Like Juju or Mecole, one of these guys could become the wide receiver 1 on this team very easily. And it could be either one of them. But I'm not going to go crazy on paying. We've always told people, stay away from KC. So many mouths to feed, blah, blah, blah. Other than Kelsey, you just never know. And it's still that same scenario. In fact, even more so now. One of these guys will pay off big. Who's it going to be?
And the biggest question is, who is it going to be? Who is the wide receiver 1 that team? Because you've got 2 guys that are, you know, mediocre, subpar. But I don't know, man. Maybe the ceiling is a little higher with Mecole because he's got that rapport. And he never really got going fully because Tyreek was there just being the one. So maybe there's an opportunity for him to shine. Similarly, ironically, this is the ironic thing. Let's talk about it. When Antonio Brown left, Juju had the opportunity, didn't really become the wide receiver 1. So he's kind of had his chance. So let's do some, you know, law of averages, process of elimination stuff here. Mecole Hardman never had that chance to be the one. So if they don't bring in someone else, right, maybe Mecole Hardman could be the one. We don't know. So
yeah, the only monkey wrench in that scenario is still Kelsey. Kelsey is still going to be probably the biggest target on the team. So he's still going to draw the attention, which might give Juju or Mecole that room.
But when is he due to break? He's been like, here's the thing, right?
Don't say it. People are going to kill you.
He has been absolutely perfect. I've jinxed it now. Look at this. 2014, Tim, to 2021 has not – actually, I lied. He's missed 1 game in 2017. I think he missed a game last year, maybe. And he missed 1 in 2020. But in almost near perfect seasons, right? And he's always been the top tight end pretty much finisher, right?
It was him and Gronk all the time, like neck and neck.
Yeah. So when is he due? Could this be the year of the break? I've been avoiding him anticipating the year of the break, but I don't even draft tight ends early
Yeah.
anyway. But could this finally be the year where he breaks something?
I
And
honestly hope not. I hope not. I mean, I think he's great. I think that's what makes KC is they have so many good, talented players, and I'd hate to see a guy like Kelsey go down. So I still think he's going to stay there. He's going to be the top guy on the team with one of these guys kind of being right there behind him.
Yeah, so I mean, Mecole Hardman and Juju to answer. I mean, yeah, I think they're in an opportunity to thrive. Will they? We don't know. 100%. I
Yeah.
got to see. I know more after the draft. You know.
I still don't think the draft is going to matter too much on these guys. These guys have been around a little bit longer. I don't see some new wide receiver coming in and stealing thunder from these two. He will get a share, but I'm not saying, we're not going to have a Waddle situation like last year. It's going to be these two and then maybe some new guy. So that being said, either one of these guys is going to go off huge. Can you make the right choice? Can we make the right choice? We're not making it yet. We're just saying it's going to be one of them.
Well, I think there's a lot of good rookies coming in out of the draft. I'm looking at the big board and stuff like that. Alabama, Ohio's got some good one. Ohio, Wilson, Dotson. There's a couple other guys that look good coming. I'm just looking at some rankings here and going through this. Now, again, no matter who comes in, even if a Jamar Chase came in, Pat Mahomes spreads the ball around.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
All right. Well, any more?
Well, let's just wrap up KC by talking about Mahomes. Like, people are probably going to make a big deal because Tyreek is gone. Do you think it's going to change anything for Mahomes?
I don't know, man. I think he's had his pinnacle year. I think he takes a dive this year slightly. I really do. I mean, I could be wrong, but
I'm just saying, like, same. Nothing changes.
I can't even say dive. Again, depends on who the other wide receiver is. I don't know. Without Tyreek, you're going to lose that massive speed and that playability because you've seen it so many times where Mahomes is under pressure and he throws like Hail Marys or just like weird,
just crazy sidearm lobs. Yeah.
And then Tyreek somehow just comes up with the ball. I don't know how he does it, but he does. He's not going to have that. So he's going to lose a little bit. I don't know how much. I don't know, man. A bit of a dive here for Mahomes, but mainly staying the same, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would say. Keep him right where he's at. You know what? You actually came up with this name, and I was surprised that I wasn't even thinking of him. And maybe some other people are sleeping on this guy too because he hasn't been around much lately. Michael Thomas.
Yeah, man. I think he thrives. The quarterback, I don't want to say thrive. He obviously has a better year, similar to McCaffrey coming off, injury or whatever, his hiatus or whatever you want to call it. I don't know, man. It's tough. It depends on how much volume he gets. If his mind is there, does he come back and say, hey, I want to get that title to be known as one of the best wide receivers in the game? Is Winston the real deal? I don't think Winston's the guy. That's the problem. So if Winston stays healthy, continues to feed the ball, I think he'll be okay. As long as Winston
and that's the thing. So Winston just re-signed 2 years for another 2 years. Taysom Hill's out. I think this is a better move for the team. However, Winston can air the ball out, but he is a horrible guy for throwing interceptions. His touchdown to interception ratio is ridiculous. It's what? I don't know. Like, for every 2 touchdowns he throws, he'll throw 1.5 picks. Like, it's ridiculous how crazy the number is. I don't even have it in front of me, but he's awful when it comes to that. So he will air it out, but he will also cost his team a lot by throwing a lot of interceptions.
Well, I'm not interested in drafting him at all. I'm more interested in
right, and that's where it might be okay because he can throw for really good yardage. So I think if Thomas comes back and he's 100%, he can still be a very good player. He can still get things done. However, you still got Kamara on this team as well. So that's your touchdown guy. And if Michael Thomas comes back and he's not 100% or Winston's not as great throwing for the touchdowns, then Kamara's getting them. So Thomas has to be lower no matter what.
He's 13th on the consensus now, so he's going to be decent value. So you're probably going to get him, what, 3rd, 4th round-ish?
More than likely, yeah. Early 3rd, probably.
Yeah, so Michael Thomas, you're going to get a wide receiver 1, 3rd round. Do we trust him? That's going to be suspect, but there's so much value at wide receiver. It's unbelievable. I'm just taking a look here. I won't even go into sleepers, but Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's kind of slated as the one on his team, is sitting 28th right now in the consensus. It's crazy.
Yeah. So with that being said, let's move into Kamara then. What do you think's going on with him?
I don't know, man. He didn't get arrested in the offseason for attacking somebody or something. I can't even remember the story at this point. He did. He got arrested. There was I don't know if he got charged or what happened. I don't know, man. He's past his time, man. I'm so over him. Like we've seen what he can do. He had that pinnacle year a couple of years ago where he like 6 touchdowns in one. He was like Al Bundy, right? Al Bundy, 4 touchdowns in one game. Kamara had like 5 or 6 in one game. Remember that?
That's the thing. Kamara can put up monsters, and it's not just a once in a blue moon type thing. He can do it 2, 3 times a year, even.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think we've seen the best of Kamara. We saw it back in 2019 or 2018 was his
Yeah.
pinnacle year. He's a running back. He's going into his 6th season. He's going to be safe, but I mean, he thrived when Breeze was there, throwing him all those receptions. And last year is a juggling act there at quarterback. It was a disaster, but man, did his receptions chopped up in half, right? 83 is an 80 type reception guy. Had 47 last year.
Yeah.
So, and his targets were pretty much chopped almost in half too, 67 targets compared to where he was at over 100, right? Typically. So I don't know, man. Kamara scares me a little bit. I'm not excited about it.
I honestly still believe Kamara is a top 5 running back. I don't think there's anything to be concerned about here. The fact that Jameis Winston should be the starter for the full season kind of makes it an even better thing for me. So I think Kamara finishes top 5. So depending on where he's going, even I wouldn't hesitate to pick him up late first, early second.
I guess you could say that if Winston stays consistent, they get into a system and a groove. Again, last year was a juggling act, was a disaster. But I think this year, if Winston starts, builds that rapport, they get into a groove system. And with Michael Thomas there, finally taking some pressure off the running back, maybe, Kamara could have a good year. Maybe a last hurrah for me.
Yeah, I don't know about a last hurrah for me even. I still think he's got a few good years left in him because he's that receiving back as well. He's not always out there just pounding the ball in. He's one of those elusive, smaller bodied guys, I'd say. So
You're an elusive, small bodied guy.
I'd like to say that. A little thick around the midsection, you know what I'm saying? Okay, let's move into another guy you'd love to hate on. CMC.
CMC's dynamite. Remember that was at TNT's dynamite, right? I'm way off. All right, wow. CMC. We kind of talked about this, didn't we?
We did. Yeah.
There's not really much to talk about here again, other than the fact.
What do you think, though? I mean, the big problem here is health, right? Like, you've always loved to hate on him no matter what, but he is a phenomenal talent, and I don't know why you don't.
As soon as he went modeling and he was acting GQ and all that, and he was taking his shirt off in like silk robes and black silk underwear and all whatever he was wearing, that's when his career went down. And that's why he's played 10 games in the past 2 seasons. So I'm going to chalk it up to modeling. That time for that photo shoot could have been invested sitting there working on his nutrition. Not that he needs help because he's in shape. But the point I'm trying to make is the modeling did it, Tim. The modeling. That's what it was.
I say the overuse did it because I'm not as biased as you and as much of a hater, but the overuse is what did it. So the problem is the last 2 years he has been injured a lot. He's only played 10 games. They have a suspect quarterback again. Like, we don't know what's going on there. It's horrible right now. So if he comes back, if he's 100% healthy, he's great. But we've already said he's going off like his ADP is 2. Like, that's ridiculous. No way.
Not paying it. Not
no. God, no. This guy needs to be end of first, early second at best. That's if he stays healthy, because now he's got to come back and prove himself again.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm staying away.
All right, man. I've only got a couple more here that I want to run through. Here's another big name. I hate to call him a has-been, but DeAndre Hopkins.
Man, D-Hop, I'm going to say thrive. I think he comes back. Christian Kirk's gone. This is it for Hopkins. I know he's been modeling too, so he doesn't get away with a free card here, a free pass from the counselor's inspection. But I want to tell you, man, I think he has a better year. But here's the thing. He had one bad year, right? Like, now everyone's sleeping on. Where is he sitting on this sheep rankings right now? Hopkins he's down 11. But this was a guy that was number 1 last year on the top 3, whatever, right? Now he's completely down. He's still DeAndre Hopkins, man. Like, I don't know. I think he's going to be good value. I think he thrives this year. I think he has a better year. He bounces back.
Sorry, where'd you say his ADP is?
11 right now. Oh, that's standard. Sorry, I'm going to pull up in PPR here. Where he's 15th in PPR, which is a great value. I'm taking him. I'm going to see if I can get him.
Yeah, the problem here is Kyler Murray. He doesn't throw a lot. He doesn't throw for huge yardage. He doesn't throw for a lot of touchdowns. Yes, DeAndre Hopkins is the primary target. He's been around for 9 years. He's not over the hill, but he's kind of approaching those later years, man. So last year he missed some games with a bummed knee. As long as the knee comes back 100%, he's still really good at an ADP of 11 for wide receivers. Yeah.
He's a clear-cut one there. And I know Kyler was 19th last year in passing attempts, and I get it with 481. It's not a lot, but it's his number one guy. He needs to see more targets. Now, we got to go back to when did he have a good year? Was it 2020 he had a good year? I was going to check here how Hopkins did that year because he finished 4th that year. So I don't see that being out of reach again. 160 targets, 115 receptions. He had 6 touchdowns, still finished 4th that year because he had the 1,407 yards. We just got to get Hopkins back into the groove. I think this is the year he comes back into the groove. I mean, he only played 10 games last year, and that was the only year, Tim, where he had one down year. And that's what I'm talking about, man. One down year since 2013. Young quarterback, been getting a lot of heat, from the media and stuff. He was talking. He took his stuff off Instagram. Kyler Murray did. Maybe he was going to get traded, and I don't know what's going on in the locker room. I don't know all the details, but I think this is the year maybe he proves himself. If another team might be interested, he's got to show that he's Kyler Murray, the great. I don't know, man. 10 games last year. Hopkins fully healthy. He's a top 5 wide receiver, and I can get him for a steal this year. Why not? I'm all over it.
Yeah, good. I agree with that. At an ADP of 11 right now, as long as he doesn't climb too much higher, oh yeah, you said 15, right? So that's even better. That's definitely like a late second, early third pick. I'd be happy with that.
And this is where I think the Conchiefs are screwed up in the head. Okay, listen to this. Jamar Chase is the one in Cincinnati. There's no doubt about it. I think he's great. I like Jamar Chase. I like him as my number 1 receiver this year, but I'm not drafting him anyway because I'm waiting on wide receiver, as you can see the value after this conversation. But here's the crazy thing, and the Conchiefs' thought. I'm looking at this. T. Higgins, who's the 2, okay, in Cincinnati, right, is ranked ahead of DeAndre Hopkins, who is a better receiver physically and a better player and the one on his team. How is Higgins sitting 13th on the rankings and Hopkins 15th? It makes zero sense.
Yep. It's like you say, he's just not in our thoughts as much because he missed time last year. And the numbers were down.
That's why it doesn't work. That's why the system is broken. And I'm putting everybody out of business this year. 60, everyone's got to have 16 rounds because that's the truth. And I'm going to lay it out to you where the best bang for buck is the best value. I'm going running back early. I can look how much value there is at wide receiver later, right? So anyway, that's a whole other topic on draft strategy. We'll get into that. But anyway, I think that should wrap it up, Tim.
I've got one more, man. We got to talk about this guy. I love this guy. And you loved him for a while, and then I think you hated him too. So Lenny Fournette, baby.
Uncle Lenny. I mean,
had a great year last year, really.
He's gonna have a good year. I think Ronald Jones is shipped off now, and he's gonna have a good year. He's the guy. I mean, I really don't trust Tampa, but he's gonna do the same, I would say, as last year.
My big thing here is he had a great year last year. They've picked him up, I think, for another 2. What's going on with Gronk? Gronk is still a question mark here. So I think if Gronk leaves, it for sure makes Lenny even more attractive. If Gronk stays, then Lenny's about the same as well. So I like him. To me, he's either a same, or he's going to shoot up depending on what Gronk does.
The only dive I see here is going to be an injury dive. And we've seen Uncle Lenny get hurt back in his jacket.
Yes, he has a problem staying healthy. Almost every year he misses some games.
So that's the only dive I see here, but I'm not going to factor that in here. And I'm going to tell you he's going to stay about the same. So he'll survive and work.
He's staying alive, baby.
That was
I got you sucker.
That was terrible. All right, you go model with CMC. I want to see you guys side by side. Picture Tim and
my God, that'll be like a before and after. 20 years later, this is what you look like.
Not really, Tim. If you just shaved your beard, got a tan.
It'll hide the fat.
But if you tan and you just draw a 6-pack,
get the airbrushed.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. You shave your beard, and it's like CMC. It's like CMC's looking in the mirror.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, man. Well, that wraps it up, guys. Subscribe. Tim's back. We're gonna try to get him on more shows now. I know I'm enjoying listening because I listen to my own show. Is that crazy, Tim? I listen to one.
No, you're totally narcissistic. It makes 100% sense to me.
No, it's actually entertaining because I did last week's episode. I actually listened to it. I'm like, these guys are making sense. And I enjoyed it on my commute. I wasn't commuting anyway. I was driving, but I was driving and I was listening to us and I enjoyed it, Tim.
I like it, man. I mean, we're friends outside of this. We've been friends for friggin' 12, 15 years.
Who said we're friends anything?
I know it's been a long time, but so we got that camaraderie, man, and we don't agree on a lot, and we love to rib each other. So it just
who said we're friends? I never
that one time you said it.
Yeah.
Might have been after a few beers, but
To wrap this up, I remember this one time I said, "Are you my best friend, Tim?" This is like 10, 15 years. Like, we don't go by titles like that. Remember that? I think I remember this conversation.
I always bust your balls about things like who would win in a fight, and I'm like, Joe, that's so childish, you know.
We
So
should actually do
to
that.
me, best friends is like a childish term.
You know what? We're gonna do that. We're gonna do a whole episode on that. Tim, that is a great idea.
Awesome.
Off season, next week. Let's do it. We're gonna line up players like CMC versus Saquon or Mecole Hardman versus whatever, and we're gonna line up like 10 matches, and we're gonna say who would win the fight, and we're gonna lay it out. It's gonna be fun.
We're gonna have to bring back like the celebrity deathmatch game for GameCube or whatever it was, you know, and we'll have to do that.
No, but I want to do this episode. Seriously, Tim, we want to do it. Would you do it? Want to do it?
I would reluctantly do it. I hate when you ask me those questions.
Well, you're asking like, how would you even break that down? We'll go with size. We'll go with personality. Has that guy been arrested? Does that guy model? We'll put all the factors in on their extracurriculars and figure out based on their lifestyle, size, weight, and all that, who would win the fight.
We're going to put a lot of thought into this.
See, like DeAndre Hopkins, right? Like he's a skinny guy who does a lot of modeling. Maybe he's a little bit of a pretty boy, right? Whereas Deebo Samuel, he's a rough and tough guy. He's a strong guy who's actually, subbed in pretty much as a running back. So you got power and strength. So Deebo, easy. But again, Hopkins has had some scraps on field. So we got to dive into that as well and factor that in. So has he gotten soft? Has he gotten strong? Tim, this is going to be a great show.
You got to look at their upbringing. Did they grow up in a bad neighborhood? Did they fight a lot?
Yeah. All right. I'm excited, man. I'm excited about this. So maybe next week we'll consider this show, see if it works.
Excellent.
All right, guys, we're out. Subscribe, and you don't want to miss any of this action.
Have a good one, everybody.
Talk soon, guys.